Most of us move through life deeply identified with the thoughts that pass through our minds. A thought arises, perhaps about the past, perhaps about the future, and without even realizing it, we say to ourselves, "This is me, this is my truth." The story becomes personal, and we begin to feel its weight as if it defines us. In this way, identification with thought becomes a subtle form of attachment, a merging of awareness with something temporary and ever-shifting. But when we learn to shift from identification to observation, a profound transformation begins. Think of it like watching a play unfold on a stage. The actors come and go, each with their lines and emotions, but you remain seated in the audience. You can enjoy the performance, feel its impact, but you do not confuse yourself with the actors. In the same way, when you observe a thought, you see it for what it is, an appearance in consciousness, not the essence of your being. The moment you notice, this is simply a thought, you create space. That space is freedom. In that space, you are no longer bound by the storyline of the mind. This shift is subtle but powerful. Identification pulls you into the turbulence of the mind's narratives, while observation places you in the calm of awareness. Imagine a storm passing overhead. If you stand in the storm, you are drenched and shaken by the winds. But if you stand in shelter, you can watch the rain fall, listen to the thunder, and still remain untouched. Observation is that shelter. It does not deny the presence of the storm, but it keeps you rooted in the clarity of awareness. One way to practice this shift is to notice the language of the mind. When a thought arises, it often carries labels. I am worried. I am not enough. I am succeeding. Instead of fusing with the label, try saying silently, there is a thought of worry, or there is a thought of success. In doing so, you recognize the thought as an object appearing before you, rather than who you are. You begin to experience the distance between the observer and the observed, and in that distance, awareness shines through. This does not mean withdrawing from life or pushing away thoughts. It means engaging from a place of clarity rather than entanglement. When you observe instead of identify, you can respond to life with wisdom rather than react from habit. Fear may arise, but you no longer become fear itself. You see it, you feel it, and you let it pass. Joy may arise, but even then, you know it is an experience moving through awareness, not a permanent identity. Over time, this shift deepens. You begin to realize that you are not the thoughts, not the stories, not even the emotions. You are the space in which they appear, the awareness that notices them all. And when you live from this recognition, you discover a freedom that cannot be shaken by the changing tides of the mind, a freedom that allows you to rest deeply in the truth of who you are. The mind is a master storyteller. From the moment we awaken in the morning until we drift into sleep at night, thoughts flow like an endless river, weaving stories that interpret every experience. These stories are not inherently good or bad. They are simply the mind's attempt to make sense of reality, to give structure and continuity to the vast stream of sensations and impressions we encounter. Yet, when we pause and pay close attention, we begin to realize that these stories are not the essence of who we are. They are temporary, fleeting, and ever-changing, much like clouds drifting across the sky. Most of us live so immersed in these narratives that we rarely question them. A single thought can grow into a belief, and that belief can evolve into a story we tell ourselves about our life, our identity, or the world around us. These stories can be empowering at times, but they can also limit us, confine us, and even trap us in patterns of fear, regret, or longing. The truth is that the mind is endlessly creative, but it does not always serve our deepest well-being. Often, it repeats old stories, shaped by memory and conditioning that no longer reflect our present reality. If you listen closely, you might notice the mind commenting on everything, judging, labeling, comparing, imagining. It tells you who you are, who others are, what should happen, and what should not. It spins a web of meaning around every moment. But awareness itself, the deeper part of you, is not entangled in this web. It is like the open sky, vast and unchanging, while thoughts and stories are like shifting weather. Storms may come, winds may blow, but the sky remains untouched. To awaken awareness beyond thoughts and stories is to recognize this deeper dimension within yourself. As you breathe gently and allow the body to soften, notice how thoughts rise and fall without your effort. A thought about the past may appear, a story about the future may follow, but in between each thought there is a space, a silent pause that often goes unnoticed. That space is not empty, it is alive with awareness. It is the quiet presence that sees, hears, and feels all things without clinging to any of them. When you rest in that space, even briefly, you begin to sense the difference between who you truly are and the stories the mind constructs. This recognition is not about rejecting thoughts or silencing the mind. Thoughts are natural, like waves in the ocean. The practice is simply to notice them for what they are, passing phenomena, not permanent truths. In this noticing, you create room for freedom. You are no longer confined to the storyline of the mind, because you know yourself as the awareness in which all stories unfold. And in that awareness, there is peace, there is clarity, and there is a deeper intimacy with the present moment. So let us begin by observing the stories as they arise, not with resistance, but with curiosity, like watching clouds drift across an open sky, knowing that behind them the vastness of awareness remains unchanged and infinite. Within each of us there is a presence that does not come and go with the passing of thoughts, a presence that remains steady no matter what the mind is telling us. This is the silent witness, the one who notices everything yet remains untouched. It is easy to miss because our attention is usually captured by the content of the mind, by emotions, by judgments, by the noise of constant thinking. But if you pause for just a moment, you can sense that there is something deeper, something watching quietly in the background. Imagine sitting by the side of a river. The water flows by, carrying leaves, twigs, reflections of the sky, sometimes calm, sometimes rushing with force. You can become lost in watching each ripple, or you can remember that you are the one sitting on the shore, simply observing. In the same way, your thoughts and emotions flow like the river, but the witness is the one who sits at the bank, open, still, and aware. It does not get carried away by the current. It simply sees. This silent witness is not distant. It is closer to you than your own breath. Even as you listen now, notice that part of you that is aware of listening. Notice the awareness that knows the sound of these words, that feels the weight of your body, that senses the rhythm of your breath. That awareness does not speak, does not judge, does not demand. It simply is. When you rest in this awareness, there is a natural calm, a stillness that no thought can disturb. Often, we believe we are the roles we play, the identities we carry, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. But all of these roles are observed by the silent witness. You may think, I am anxious, or I am happy, yet even as these states arise and dissolve, there is something watching. That which observes anxiety is not anxious. That which observes joy is not bound by joy. It is the same presence, steady and unchanging, while experiences shift like seasons. To discover this witness is to step into freedom. When we are identified only with thoughts, life feels turbulent and uncertain, like being swept away by the river's current. But when we turn our attention to the witness, we find an anchor, a ground of being that cannot be shaken. It is not that thoughts disappear, rather, they lose their power to control us. We see them arise, we see them fade, and we remain as the one who watches. As you breathe now, soften into that awareness. Let the body be at ease, let thoughts come and go without resistance, and rest as the silent witness. This is not something you have to create, it is already here. All that is required is to notice it, to recognize the quiet presence that has been with you in every moment of your life. And in that recognition, you discover a peace that has no opposite, a stillness that holds everything just as it is.